And we're live. It's been a while, folks. Bear with me as I get some stuff together. I see we have 4 viewers already. That's good for being away for so long. Uh, it's uh, it's surprising to see how many people are already here. So, welcome to the show. I'm Patrick. I'm the Breakaway Homesteader. My wife is Beat, and she worked hard today, and so she politely asked not to be a part of the show, but she sends her love and looks forward to seeing you at the next live show. And it's been a while. It's probably been a month or so since we've done our last live show, but we're here and we're going to be doing this. Today we're going to be talking about self-watering planters and how to make one, whether it's worth it or not, why it's worth it, uh, faults in do-it-yourself systems that you might want to avoid. So when you do make one, it lasts for a long time, or at least as long as what the commercial item would last. So you can see I got a kitty in the background. That's Charlie. I got another one in the windowsill over here, and yeah, we're happy to be here tonight. We hope you are too. So, sorry, I gotta check my phone here real quick. I keep getting buzzes. Was up at the hunting stand earlier tonight. Only thing I saw was a trash panda. So that was fun. But yeah. So let me get my show notes up here, folks. It's been a minute, so I'm a little bit rusty, and get that taken care of. Hopefully, you guys can hear me well. Uh, if you can, give me a thumbs up or say yay. Uh, so let me get the OBS up here on my other screen so we can see what the heck we're doing here. That's better. And then we're going to get started. So, what we're going to be talking about tonight is self-contained watering, self-watering contained planters. Maybe I got something over here to check here real quick. Something like that. On the left-hand side, you can see these are made from totes, and that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Is going from totes, and yes, my desk is trashed. I just noticed that. Maybe I could adjust this a wee bit so you don't see that. Oh, look, there's my crossbow there. Completely legal in this state. Uh, but yeah. So you can see up here in the upper left hand corner of the screen there, totes were used to build those self-water containers. We're going to talk about a few different varieties of self-watering containers and what works best when you're doing it yourself. And so if you're considering a self-watering planter pot, you'll notice that most of these pots are most expensive than traditional planter pots that you get in the store. In short, a self-watering pot helps keep your plants alive and makes you the green thumb hero, and then the money spent buying the pot is worth the cost, uh, other than losing the plants that you're growing. So if you suck at growing plants and you get a self-watering planter, you can be the green thumb hero, and people will think you're a fantastic gardener. Is it worth the price? We believe so here, most definitely. As long as it's producing something, we're happy about that. So before you consider cost being the only parameter of getting a self-watering planter pot, understand the different types of self-watering pots, and hopefully I'll be able to help you make a decision on what's right for you and your situation. Uh, so price is one thing that we're going to try to consider and keep low in doing it ourselves because the commercial versions are very, very expensive. And even if they do cut a good cost, uh, their shipping costs almost as much as their planters do. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So, what is a self watering planter? I got a picture up here. I'll check what the next one is. All right. The basic goal of a self-watering planter is a way to semi-automate the process of watering your plants, your potted plants, by providing a natural way for their roots to reach water in the soil, and that's what the reservoir is for at the bottom of the planter. And best of all, this all happens without needing to plug in a pump or set up a timer. No electricity involved. The magic behind this process of a self-watering container is called capillary action or wicking. Uh, it's what happens if you partially dip an absorbent piece of paper into water. If you were to take a diaper, flip it inside out with its absorbency, and put it in a bowl of water, it will absorb uh, the water, the diaper will, and that's the capillary action. Uh, the water will travel into the item, and in this case, the water will travel into the soil of the plants that you want to plant. Sorry, man, I keep getting ads up on my notes. A self-watering planter should reduce the number of times you need to water a plant, which reduces the chances of forgetting to uh, water your plant. If you do forget, it's a backup to be there to let your plants have life while you forget. Uh, so, say you water every other day. If you have a planter with a big enough reservoir in it, uh, you might only have to water that plant once a month. So this depends on some factors. The location of your plants. If your plant's in a hot, sunny window, or is out in the front porch, or someplace where it's going to get heat, um, you may need to water it more often because it may evaporate more water. Uh, or seasonally, when it gets warmer, uh, water is going to evaporate more, and you'll have to water your planter more. Uh, Other than being an absent-minded plant owner, a self-watering pot is also perfect if you are a traveler. Let's say if you go away for a conference or do something, go on a vacation or something like that. When you come back, your plants should still be alive. So, how does a self-watering plant work? And so you can see here, I've got there's actually three types. I've got pictures for two. So there are two basic ways in which self-watering planters move water from the reservoir into the planting container above, both which rely on the capillary action, what we just talked about. If you've ever dipped, so the first one is a wicking action. A wick is placed inside the container. Thought I had a wick in there. I guess I don't. So a wick is placed inside the container, uh, and this could be a fabric wick, it could be string, it could be a rope. It's going to be something that's absorbent, like cotton or something like that. And with the one end of the wick that is dipped in the reservoir of the water, and the other end is in the potting mix above it, in the um, above the center plate. It basically sucks the water up from uh, the reservoir into where the potting mix is at, and it transfers that water up to the soil. Uh, the wick basically sucks water out of the reservoir and delivers it to the potting mix. But one thing about this is it can fail. Uh, we know how things degrade over time, and if you've ever put a cotton anything inside a uh, compost bin, uh, you'll know that it'll deteriorate over time because it's plant material. They decompose, and these things can decompose over time, and so eventually you'll have to replace your wick. So the planting container is designed with a section for soil. The one we're going to be doing today looks like what's on the screen here. I have a secondary picture here that shows exactly what happens. There's a reservoir on the bottom, and there's a section of the top portion that goes down through the middle plate and into the water, and that is filled with soil. And that soil acts as a natural wick to the upper portion where the roots are at. So it's called soil foot, and that is inside the water reservoir, and it pulls it, it draws it up into the bottom portion of the planter. So a third design, which I don't have a picture of a self-watering container. What it is a perforated separator between the reservoir and the bottom of the planter or the plate that's in the middle. And there's holes in this plate to allow uh, evaporation to rise up into the planter. So it has to be hot. Once it's hot, move this here. Once it gets hot enough, moisture evaporates from the water, from the surface of the water, rises up into uh, the basin where the soil is at, and that's how it's watered. It's not a very successful version of a self-watering planter or container, but it does work out. So is do-it-yourself cheaper? And the short answer is hell yes it is. Check my page here real quick. Ooh. We live close to a range and it is very active tonight. So is making a do-it-yourself planter cheaper than a commercial planter? Hell yes, it's plenty cheaper, and we're going to get into that. Much cheaper than the commercial planters. And when we build this box together at the end of this live stream, you're going to see exactly how much you're going to save by doing it yourself. So what not to do? This is what you're not going to do when you build your own self-watering planter. And there's many plans out there. Let me warn you now, a lot of them, they fail really quickly. And the way I've done this makes it so much easier and makes it last so much longer that you're going to go, huh, I see exactly what he's doing there, why he's doing it there, and why these other planters that I keep seeing on Pinterest and other places look so cheap and flimsy and looks like they won't last. It's because they're not going to last. So don't do this when you're building your DIY planter. So here's a planter here. It's made from a tote. Rule number one is never ever use the lid for the middle support of the planter. People are like, just take the lid off the top of it, cut it the size in the middle, and make it the middle plate, and use that instead. You'll have very little success rate in doing this. So many DIYers try to use the minimum amount of supplies as possible to do the task. And again, like I said, these planters don't last the long haul. What you're going to want to have is value over price. You want to spend a little bit more. I'm telling you, not a whole lot more, but a little bit more will work its value in as you get crop after crop of plant from these self-watering planters. And so it's worth investing a little bit more to have a better product that's going to last a longer time. I can't say that enough about that. Do not use the lid of a tote as the middle plate for your self-watering plant. What else is a bad thing to do when you're doing a DIY project like this? Big holes. Do not drill massive holes in the center plate. You want your soil above the plate and you want your water below the plate. Soil above, water below. You don't want water below. You don't want, oh, you do want water below. You don't want soil below. You don't want water above. Water above will come in through a natural wicking. And so it's going to have plenty of water up there. You don't even have to make holes. If you make that middle support bowl and it has holes in it and it has that wicking action, you don't even have to put holes there. Those holes there are for roots to go through. And how big are roots? They're not big at all. Get little tiny roots. Long roots, but little thin roots that make their way through the holes. Holes like this are ridiculous, and it will fail after a while. Here's another example of how big holes are in these people who say, oh, I can do DIY this, follow me and do exactly what the song says, and it doesn't work out. Another thing, so this guy used his lid. This is rule number 3, not to follow or to follow when you're making your own self-watering planter. Gaps, 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 huge gaps. The more gaps you have, the better the odds that your planter is going to fail. Same with the holes. You want to keep the water in the bottom and the soil above the plate. Let the wicking effect do the work for you, and that's what we're going to go over and what we're going to do when we build our project. Another thing that's off the top of my head, do not use translucent totes. The last thing you want is fresh sunlight or UV rays to be hitting the water tray below the center plate. For one or two reasons. One, it'll evaporate more. Two, it will cause things to grow inside the water, such as algae, which is not necessarily bad for the plant, but it will deteriorate that pot even quicker. And so use a non-see-through plastic. This tote right here has that silver plastic, which is great. It's fine. I prefer to use 2 tones, a darker on the bottom, because we're going to be using 2 totes, a darker tote on the bottom, and a bright tote on the top. And the reason why is because of reflection. When the sun comes into the top tote and the soil level is below where the top is of the tote, at least it's going to reflect off the side of that tote back onto the plant to give it better light. So those are the 4 things you should not do when you're doing a DIY planter like this. Don't use a lid. Don't drill massive holes. Get rid of the gaps, and don't use translucent plastic. So this is the tote we're going to be making, and this is the exact tote I'm going to be doing a video over here very shortly that you'll get to see firsthand. And so it looks simple because it is simple. There are very few steps in making this planter, and it is a successful planter. This is an 18-gallon tote. This is a, I can't remember the name of the brand, but it's not Walmart brand. It's the one next to it. The Walmart brand's like Home Economics, Home Remedies, or something like that. But this particular tote was like $4, $4 or $5, and so you have 2 of them. Yes, you are going to be using 2 totes. No, it's not wasting. Trust me, this is going to be the best self-contained watering planter that you're going to build, and it'll be worth it, every single penny of it, because you're going to get back in yield quicker faster than it would if it were growing in the ground, and in more repetition. So you'll get your plants to grow faster and get fruit from those plants, so you can rotate through more items per year. So instead of taking 40 days for a small head of lettuce to grow, it'll take 30 days. Shaving off that little bit amount of time expands your final number exponentially. So what are we going to need to build this tote? First, you need a tote. Two totes of the same size. This is an 18-gallon tote. And again, two tones. I will go with a dark one and a light one, so the top one can reflect light onto the plants. Zip ties. This particular planter that we're going to be making requires only 5 zip ties. This is PVC pipe. I use a 3/4 inch pipe because that's what was underneath the house that was laying around. And so you're going to have a 2 inches on the bottom, so add 2 inches to that. So this is going to have roughly a 17 to 18 inch pipe going down. So you have at least 2 inches above the edge of that lip of the tote. Rubbermaid container. This is a small Rubbermaid container. It's going to act as the wicking bowl. This is the bowl that's going to go down into the water reservoir that's connected to your center section that dirt goes into, and that wicks water up to the dirt, to the potting soil. These are washers. These are flat washers. These are, I think, an inch and a quarter flat washers that are going to be used to stabilize the anchor pieces at the bottom. We're going to need 2x4, and warning, warning, warning. When you go to the store to get a 2x4 to use for this project, you must use untreated wood. Use untreated wood. I will not be responsible if you get sick because you use treated wood. Treated wood has chemicals in it. This is going to be going into the water that's going to water your plants. If you have chemicals leaching from treated wood, then it's going to leach into your plants, and you're going to consume that, and you're going to get sick. I don't think you'll die, but I think you'll get sick. So use untreated lumber. Not treated, not treating. Look on the side and see if it's kiln dried. If it's kiln dried, that's fine. But if it's got any weatherproofing in any way or any sort, then don't use it. You'll know. And then once you check out from the hardware store, ask them, is this treated wood? And they'll tell you for sure whether or not you have treated wood. Some screws. You're going to need 6 screws, 6 washers, and some dirt. Not just any dirt. We're going to be using potting soil. Potting soil has media in it that keeps it from compacting, and so it'll keep it from, one, compacting at the bottom of the tray, and then 2, keep it from going through the holes and getting into your water tray as well. And then some sort of fertilizer. So the potting soil that we put in our planter that we're about to go through a video on already has fertilizer in it. There's some brands out there, commercial brands, that put fertilizer on top. Excuse me, I had spaghetti for dinner. And that is a light type of fertilizer. 10-10-10 is a general good fertilizer. It's an all-purpose fertilizer. I think some planters use a 7-7-7. You can get these generics at Walmart. You can get them at Lowe's or any other hardware store that has anything to do with fertilizers. Ace is a good place to go as well. So I would recommend, depending on what it is, how much nitrogen, phosphorus, or potash it needs, uh, 777 or 10-10-10. Don't go above that. Don't go crazy. And then you're only going to put a little bit on the top when you need it. But again, we're using pre-fertilized uh, potting soil, and so the fertilizer in this soil is good for 6 months, and so maybe longer. But I prefer using a liquid version of fertilizer, so I'll use Miracle Grow. Uh, and it's like capful with a gallon of water, and then that'll go down into the reservoir, and then the roots will pick up that nutrients from the water reservoir. So you're going to need a screwdriver uh, or a drill. This is not a screwdriver. That's to make holes, and a scroll saw. That's to make an even bigger hole. That's to make the hole in the bottom plate of the first tote to put that bowl in. And that's pretty much it from there. So I am going to see if there are anybody on board tonight. Chip Signal, sir, hope you're doing well. Ace typically has more knowledgeable people in my experience. I agree. Again, it goes with the you get what you pay for, and Ace is more of a pricier place, but it definitely shines through. You get what you pay for. You feel like you are supporting a small town store, hardware store, and that's why they keep them small in the first place, is to make you feel like uh, you're in a local store, which also supports the local economy. True Value is another place that's like Ace that I really like, and works out pretty well. So glad to see you here tonight. Common Man, hello. Hope you're doing well. 66 and clear. I want to say it's about 65 here, and if you listen, you can hear the crickets. Yes, that's the sound. All of our windows are open, and we turned off the air conditioner yesterday. So fall hopefully sticks around for a while, or we're in second summer before first fall, something like that. I forget the seasons here in North Carolina. So let me go ahead and take off this picture here, image, and then we're going to get going with the video portion of this. And so this was pre-recorded, what I'm about to show you, and it's going to go step by step on making this really simple, keep it simple, it's called KISS method, keep it simple, stupid method, minimal items needed, uh, with the most output and the best product you're going to get out of here. I've used these for a long time, and I think they work well, and I would never ever buy commercial unless I was rich and really lazy. So let's go through the video.
So you're going to measure to find two even points in between the three contact points at the bottom of the tote. And so we'll have two pieces of lumber and the bowl in the middle supporting the bottom of the planter. This particular tote, 9 inches for each piece of lumber. This one only requires 2 pieces of lumber. If you require more, you'll require more bowls. So if there's 3 pieces of lumber, you'll use 2 bowls instead of 1. Next, we're going to mark the hole for the bowl. And marking here cut on the inside of the line.
Hey folks, sorry for the interruption. We're going to get you right back to your video. First, I want to talk to you about Homestead Paycheck really quick. From this point forward on my videos, if there's something that has a DIY aspect to it, I'm going to go ahead and post up in the corner how much this item costs. And at the end of that, I'm going to compare it to what the commercial price is for that product. So let's say we got a 5-gallon self-watering container here for plants, and we were to compare it to something that's, let's say, on eBay or Amazon, a self-watering 5-gallon container like this would run between $20 and $30. And this costs right here between $8 and $10. So what we're going to do is post on every DIY video from here forward the cost of DIY versus commercial. So you know exactly what you're saving in money for doing it yourself. So back to the video.
The reason why we cut on the inside of the line is so that the bowl fits into the hole snugly and does not allow dirt to come through the hole. We're going to cut those 2 pieces of timber. This is untreated lumber. Being untreated, has no chemicals in it, and so therefore it doesn't transfer any chemicals to the water that goes to your plants. If you use treated lumber, you will get sick. Do not use treated lumber. So I'm marking 2 9-inch sections of lumber. Nine inches, and the X. Cut number 1. And cut number 2. Now we're going to cut holes in the bowl that's going to go in your water well of your planter. These particular 4 holes are for your zip ties. Now when you're cutting into the bowl, you don't want to press too hard because you will crack the bowl. Don't do that. Hole number 3 and 4. And then we're going to cut some random holes. You don't have to do a whole lot, but do enough. Cut inside the bowl area and use a scroll saw to cut out the inside. I use a matrix tool. It's a matrix drill and it has several tools including a scroll saw and a drill. Pretty handy little tool. It's made by Black & Decker. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be inside the lines. And a perfect fit for the bowl. We're going to go ahead and cut those holes adjacent to the strap holes. And then we're going to get the zip ties out. We're going to secure those zip ties onto the bowl and then secure the bowl to the tote. This can be a little finicky. Your zip ties are up. Secure them tight. Cut your zip ties. Next, you're going to make 3 holes per support board. Make sure they're even. and this will be used for the support boards. And to fasten this down, we are going to end up using washers, wide washers, and screws. Flip your tote, put it on the edge. These washers are particularly wide to make sure that the pressure is spread evenly over the board supporting the bottom of the tote. Those are just 1.5 inch screws. Secure the middle screw first and then align it with the outside. Screw number 1. Screw number 2. Securing the other side with all 6 fasteners, and screw number 6. Now your support is flush and even across the bottom, so any downward force is going to make sure that the bottom doesn't buckle. Now let's make your holes for your roots. These holes are not massive. These are just small holes to allow the roots to go to the bottom to the water, not let all your dirt fall through. Before we place it into the secondary tote, we're going to drill a hole for the PVC pipe to go through. Since we're using a 3/4 inch pipe, we're using a 1 inch hole for the pipe. Lost my bit there. Grab your second tote. Put your inner tote in the outer tote. Make 2 holes along the side where your pipe hole was at. And this is going to be used for support of the watering pipe. So insert the pipe into the hole on the bottom and make sure it hits the bottom. And don't worry about it being flush with the bottom. As long as the bottom is flat, it'll remain at an angle once we secure the pipe. You'll never have to worry about it being stuck on the bottom or blocked at the bottom, because it will remain angled. Now that the pipe is secured, we're going to go ahead and drill 2 vent holes, and these vent holes are going to be at the water level that once it's filled will leak water, And there you have it, one tote self-watering planter. We're going to go ahead and fill this with potting mix. This particular potting mix has fertilizer for 6 months, so you will not need fertilizer for 6 months. Potting mix has a lot of media in it that's going to keep it from flowing through those holes. The roots will get down in there, but not a whole lot of dirt. I'm going to fill it up to about the edge of where the bottom tote is at. You want a couple to 3 inches of headspace at the top. Notice the white tote is on the inside. That is to reflect light into it so the plants have a better chance of producing quicker. That's one bag. We're going to go ahead and put more in there. Not quite there yet. Well, it's about a bag and a half of potting mix. Normal size, I think that's 1.75 cubic feet per bag. So it's roughly 3 cubic feet of potting soil. I'm going to fill it with water until it starts leaking out the front where the vent holes are at. And you're good to go.
And that is how to make a self-watering container planter. If you enjoyed this video, I want you to give it a big thumbs up and think about subscribing to us. And for those of you who really enjoyed this video, I have a special surprise for you, brought to you by our Patreons at patreon.com, the Breakaway Homesteader. Go ahead and go down to the description. There's a link in there, and that link will take you to a special bonus video that is free for you. You do not need to subscribe, on how to make a 5-gallon self-watering garden container. So go ahead and click that link below and get that bonus feature. This video is brought to you in part by Patreons that support the channel, and their names are going to be scrolling down here somewhere. A big thank you to you for supporting the page. I'm Patrick from Breakaway Homestead. I hope you enjoyed this video, and you have a good one. And that was the video. I will be posting that video by itself on YouTube here shortly, but that goes for the Patreon page. That bonus feature, that bonus video, there's a link to it down below. You can go onto our Patreon page, which is open to the public, and share it and help people learn the homesteading skills they're going to need in the future. If you listen to Full Spectrum Survival at all, watch his channel and listen through the message he's trying to put through. He really means for you guys to take heed and look at the bigger picture and to prepare for the bigger picture. And this is one thing you can do definitely to get ready for that bigger picture, is making a self-watering container that can bring you more food in less time, because eventually you might not be able to go to the store and you'd have to grow it yourself. So one last thing before I go. It's not going to be an hour-long show today. We're at 45 minutes so far. Is for those folks who do not want to do the DIY movement and make their own watering containers. I can only suggest that you get a particular type of box, and that is called the Earth Box. No, it's not the Earth Box. It's called the Grow Box. And you see commercials on these things here. So there's many successful self-watering garden containers, but one of the most successful and most known for on TV, infomercials, stuff like that, is called the Grow Box. Their model is very successful, and but it's expensive. It's more expensive. You can build 2 of our totes with one of these for the cost of one of these. However, the next best one is called Earthbox, and you can get those on Amazon. Um, but that's $48 compared to $30 per box. So with the GrowBox website, um, if you buy a GrowBox, you're gonna have to pay shipping as well. So even the cost of the box plus shipping is less than the cost of what it would cost from an Earth box with free shipping with Prime. And so there's no links or anything like that. I'm just going to say, hey, check out the Roblox. They've been very successful. I got a couple pictures of what it looks like here. Looks like some cucumbers. We got some tomato plants. Even successfully growing corn in these grow boxes. So I highly suggest you check out what's called the Grow Box, and you'll know it's the name brand Grow Box. But I also wanted to include a couple of pictures of folks who successfully um, tote garden. We call it tote gardening. Making self-watering containers out of totes. And you can see there, that corn is probably 8 feet high. Here's some more containers. And again, it doesn't have to be totes. Uh, on my Patreon site, that bonus video goes over how to make a self-watering planter with 2 5-gallon buckets. And so you're spending $10 for something that will cost 30 to 40 bucks commercially, and getting the same deal. And so here's another tote garden that's doing well. And that's pretty much it. So I'll move this over here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to welcome you guys back to the live show. We won't be doing it every week, but I'm going to be doing it more often than not at all. Because we were busy here at the homestead getting prepared for some things that are coming up that we feel we should be prepared for. More now than ever since the virus started poking its ugly head, it has given us light to a lot to how things work uh, amongst our country, and that we may be in for some dire times ahead. And so it's better prepare now while you still have time than to try to do it in the interim. So I've talked with Full Spectrum Survival. We've got a script ready, and we got a live show on the books, or ready to go in the books. We haven't got a date or time, but we're going to be doing a live show with him sometime in the near future. He's been very busy, and so maybe it'll be a weekend live event. Regardless, it's going to be on YouTube, and it's going to be on both of our Patreon pages. So check those out. The link is below. Check us out. My Patreon page has only been up for a little over a month now, and it's building up with more and more stuff inside of it. I say stuff; it's not just videos. I am adding lists of organization. I first covered over cooking or canning your own food at home, or getting an organized pantry together and cooking from home to save money, because eventually it's going to cost too much to go out and eat. It's going to cost too much to go to McDonald's, and you're going to come to a point to where you're going to have to eat what you make at home. And it's good to learn now how to cook if you don't know how to cook. So think about that as we close out this video. I'm Patrick from the Breakaway Homestead, and I hope you keep your eyes open, and we'll see you the next time. And keep your eyes on this channel, as we're going to be putting more stuff on it. At least once a week, we're going to put a new subject into both Patreon and YouTube as well. So good night from me. Have a good one.